In this video, I'm going to show you how you could get started and install your very own data science environment in R, and we're starting right now. So the two major components of a data science environment that you could implement in the R ecosystem would have to be comprised of two major components. So the first one is the R. So let's type that in. And then the second component is the RStudio. And so the RStudio will act as the IDE. And the R here is the coding environment or the software environment that you could code using the R language. And so just a moment ago, I've uninstalled both R and RStudio on my own computer, saying that there is a new version of R that has been released for quite some time now. So a stable release is 4.04 that was released on 15th of February 2021. And so let's head over to the download CRAN found on the left-hand panel here. So you want to click on that. And then you can click on any mirror website that is close to your own location. Since I'm in Thailand, I'll click on this. And then select a version that is compatible for your operating system. So I'm currently using a Mac, so I'm going to click on the Mac here. So if you're using a Windows, click on Windows. If you're using Linux, you can click here as well. And note that you could also install it using the command line. For example, if you're using Ubuntu, you could use sudo apt-get in order to install R. So I'm going to show you how to do this graphically. So if you click on Mac here, and so I'm going to click on the R-4.04.pkg, and then I'll click on allow. Okay, and now it's downloading. And in the meantime, I'll also check out RStudio. I think I've also deleted RStudio here, and so I'm just gonna download it again. So head over to RStudio website, and then I'll click on download. Scroll down, and under RStudio desktop, I'll click on the download button here. And then I'll click on this button in order to download the RStudio for my Mac. Or you could also select a suitable version for your own operating system. And so normally the website of RStudio would detect the operating system of your computer, and it will provide the appropriate version for you to download. And so you could go ahead and click on the button here. Okay, so RStudio is downloading, and R has already finished downloading. So I'll go ahead and double click on the R. Alright, and so this installer pops up, and I'll just click on continue, and then continue. Install. Alright, so it's finished. Click on close, and it asks whether I should move it to trash or keep it. So I'll just move it to trash in order to save some space on my computer. Okay, and so close the website here, and I'll wait for RStudio to complete downloading. So why don't I go to R? So I'll go to the application and then click on r.app. So normally what I like to do is make sure that it has the latest version. So I'll go to check for R updates. So it is under R, and then you click on the check for R updates. Okay, and so it says that version is up to date. So 4.04 is the stable version, so we're using that. So once that we have installed R into the computer by using the pkg installer, we have access to the R console by clicking the r.app under the applications folder. It's right here. And so aside from using this to run R, you could also go to your terminal, and then you could type in R, and then you have access to the R prompt. Okay. And because we're also installing the RStudio, and the RStudio is an IDE, meaning that it is an integrated development environment, it also has R built in the IDE. And so let's install RStudio. And then what we need to do is click and hold on the RStudio.app, drag and drop into applications. Wait a few moments for it to copy. Okay, and close it. Clear. All right, and so now we have RStudio installed. And so what I like to do is, let me remove this old icon. I like to drag and drop RStudio into the dock here. Okay, and let me click on RStudio. All right, so let's see. So this came from a prior project that I was working on using the older RStudio. So let me just close that. Okay. Okay, so once that you have opened up RStudio, you will see that you have the R preloaded. And so let's get familiar with the layout of this IDE, RStudio. Okay, so on the left-hand panel here that you see, you will notice that it has various tabs here. And the first tab that you see is the console, and this is the R console. So it is essentially R in the command prompt. And another is the terminal, and this represents the bash terminal of my MacBook, and also the tabs known as jobs, and so this will list the job that is currently running. Let's head over to console again, and I could also create an R script file by clicking on the new file button here, and then click on the R script, or I could also do the same by clicking on the file menu and then new file and then R script. So it's the same thing, okay? And then I'll just type in, for example, if I type in library ggplot2 and then command enter or shift enter, okay, and then it says I don't have ggplot2 installed. Okay, so let me install that in just a moment. And so let me save this file into the computer. And so why don't I first create a working directory. Yeah, so one of the good practice of using RStudio is that you could create a project or you could also create a working directory as well. So what you want to do is you could go to session and then set working directory to be the files pane location, which is right here, the files pane location, or the source file location, but then we have to first save this file. Okay, so set working directory. Let me use the file location here, which is corresponding to this particular location, which is home, desktop, and the R coding folder. And then we see here that it has set the working directory to be my home folder. The tilde here represents the home directory, and then it's on the desktop, and then it's inside the R coding folder. And then I can save this file. I could either click on the button here, or as indicated by the hover, you see that I could also press on the Command S combination key, Command S, and it'll ask for the name of the file. So I just call it, for example, sandbox.r, and then save it. Okay, so the neat thing about this is that once that you have saved your R script and then you want to run library ggplot2. So the great thing is that the code detects that I don't currently have ggplot2 installed, and then it's asking me whether I would like to install ggplot2. So I could simply install this by clicking on the install button here. Let's do that. Okay, and then notice that the jobs panel or tab here is activated and it's showing the progress of the installation. Alright, so now it's already installed, and I could also head over to the packages on the right hand panel here to check out the libraries that are installed on my computer. And here I see that ggplot2 is listed amongst the packages here, so it means that all of these packages are installed on my computer. And so I could run this line by hitting on the command enter, or I could click on the run button here and making sure that I have clicked on line number 1 and then click on the run button. And now ggplot2 library is now loaded. Or I could also load the library by clicking on the tick box here, and this will also load the library as indicated right here. Let's say I click on this and you see that the glue library has been loaded. Okay, so aside from ggplot2, I also use Shiny, and let's have a look. Okay, so we see that Shiny is not in here. So aside from, like typing in library and then Shiny and then allowing it to detect that Shiny is not installed, I could also install Shiny by typing in install.packages and then parenthesis and then the quotation mark Shiny and then command enter. And now it's gonna install Shiny and all of the dependencies. Alright, Shiny is installed. And another library that we should definitely have in our data science ecosystem in R is tidyverse. Okay, why don't I also show you how to install tidyverse via a point-and-click approach. So remember that I told you that in the packages tab here, I could click on the tick box and then the library will be loaded up. And I could also install a library by clicking on the install button and then I'll type in tidyverse and then it detects tidyverse and I could click on it. And then I'll click on install and make sure that the install dependency tick box is already ticked. And that's all, and then wait a moment and tidyverse is installing. Alright, and another library that I would normally use is Caret for performing machine learning. And I just discovered that there's also a library called Tidy Models. And so let me install that. And speaking of R packages or R libraries, so recently one of my friend Richard from Richard on Data, he has released an awesome video that describes or discusses some of the important R packages that he recommends. So I'll provide you the link to that video so that you could have a look and consider the recommended R packages. Okay, and so let's install Tidy Models. Alright, so Tidy Models is installed. And before we proceed further on doing any sort of coding, let me first explain about the right panels here. So a moment ago, I've explained already the left panels, and so I could do it again. So on the left panel, you see the console, and then you have many tabs, console tab, terminal tab, and the jobs tab. And so the console is essentially the R console, and so you could actually type in R code in here as well. Like we could create a variable called A, and then we could create a variable called B, and then we could say, okay, we want to create a variable C, which is A plus B. And then if we type in C, we get the results. Okay, so that's the console, and we've just typed in the code line by line here, but we could also run it as a script, meaning that instead of typing it here in the command prompt of the console, we could store the code here like so, and then we could highlight it, and then we could click on run, and then you see that it'll be running all of the highlighted lines. Or instead of clicking on the run, I could hit on the command and enter button, command enter, and then it'll do the same thing. It'll run lines that I have highlighted. So also make sure to study your keyboard shortcuts because that will greatly enhance your productivity when you're coding. And so on a Mac, we normally use the command button in combination with other keys. But on the Windows, you'll be using the control button. Okay, so like for example, in the RStudio, if you want to create a new file, you could actually just go to the functions that you would like to use and then have a look at the keyboard shortcut. Like for example here, it said that if you want to create a R script, you could press on the Shift Command N. So let me try that. Shift Command N. Okay, and then it creates a new R script. Let's have a look here. If I want to save it, so it's Command S. If I want to open files, Command O. Save all. Okay, so it's Option or Alt, Option, Command, and S at the same time, which will allow me to save all files. Okay, so it's the Option, Command, and the S button all at the same time. Or also close by Command W or also quit session Command Q. Okay. So the left panel here, you can see the R script files will be at the top panels. And on the right-hand panel here, you'll see on the bottom, you have the file location panel. You have the tab for the plots. So if we're creating a plot, it will be shown here. Okay, so I'll show you that in just a moment. And the packages here will list the packages that are installed in the computer. Or you could also update it, the list, or you could also install a particular R package. And help will come in handy when you would like to read some of the documentation of various R packages. Okay, and so on the top hand side here, you'll see that there's the environment, history, and connection. So the environment will be listing all of the R objects and values, variables, all in the panels that you see here. So these are based on a prior project. And so let me clear this by clicking on the broomstick here. And for example, if I type A and assign it to a value of 1, and notice that the value of A is having a value of 1 here. And let's say that I'm creating a variable. Let me create in the R script file. So why don't I type in, let me create a variable called height. And a variable called weight. And I'm gonna make a plot. I'll highlight it and I'll run it. So I'm using the shortcut. And so I'm making the plot using the R base plot function, using the plot function here. And the input argument includes height and weight. So you can see the simplicity of running the base plot functions for making the plot here. And you could also do the same thing using the ggplot2, but it might be a bit more complicated. And so I'll show you that in future videos on this YouTube channel. So you want to subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit on the notification bell. Okay, so now we see that the height and the weight is essentially an array. It has the values shown here in the environment. And in the history tab, let's click on that. So you see all of the history that we have ran right here, all of the history that we have already executed, and it's all here. And great thing is you could also save it. You could save the history and you could just save it to file. Okay, so all of your coding history session is right here. Okay, so we have covered the basic installation of R, installation of RStudio, installation of R packages, creating a basic plot, assigning values to variables, creating an array, setting the working directory, visualizing the plot in the plot panels here, installing or updating libraries of R using this packages tab here, and also being able to find further details on various R packages by using the help. Like for example, you could type in plots, and then it'll find or try to find plot functions. Let me go to the ggplot then. Okay, here. So I click on ggplot and it provides me with more details and also some example code as well. Like for example, I could just, copy this example and I'll paste it here. And let's try it. All right, so here it's generating some sample data and then making a plot for you. And so the example will help you to understand more or less the capability of the various functions of R and also give you a glimpse of what it can do. And it will help you to decide whether you want to use that particular function or not. Or also provide you with some more details of the capabilities of the various functions, okay, and the various arguments and what do they mean. Okay. Okay, and so there you have it, a video on how you could install RStudio into your own computer, as well as installing various R packages that will allow you to perform data science projects. And so I'm planning on making more videos on the use of R for data science. And so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and smash the like button because it really helps the video and the channel to grow and reach a wider audience. And also make sure to hit on the notification bell so that you will be notified whenever a new video is released. And as always, the best way to learn data science is to do data science. And please enjoy the journey.